All of us work together. We need to establish our goals and let everybody know what they are so that they recognize as we transition from one to another. This training is important because not only does it establish what Toastmasters International thinks we should be doing, but also we get to reflect and ask questions about what the day-to-day problems and solutions are going to be for us. A key to all of this is to reward achievement and recognize it, which is what we do in the district executive meetings. But at the club level, recognition is also critical. So let's talk about the division and the area directors. This leadership handbook gives you all of this information, so I'm going to hit it from the high point. There are district monthly meetings where the directors get together and basically exchange news, ideas, talk about problems, talk about solutions. It's the chance for the district to see what's going on. There's also the key that the directors need to visit the clubs. The area directors need to go. Toastmasters recommends twice a year. I recommend much more often than that. We'll get to that. Then there'll be the reports that come from it. And believe it or not, Toastmasters International is actually saying, you're involved with speech contests, make sure they're as good as you can make them. To do that, I have 5 things over on the right-hand side here. Basically, develop successful teams. We want to enhance the club quality, and that's how it works, what it offers, how successful it is. Do they have members? Lots of things in there. And then, of course, we want the district to thrive because we have thriving clubs, and that comes through our recognition programs. The division director has certain responsibilities. Basically, that person sits on top of the different areas to make sure that they are achieving what they need to do to see distinction, recognition in the division and in the areas. They help out with the club training, and they should be very much aware of that. And also, they go into the area directors go in sometimes and make introduce the new officers to the club and install them. Well, the division director supports all of the councils, but he sets up his own council, her own council, with his or her area directors on a regular basis. And it's twice a year, believe it or not. I recommend more often. The clubs have usually training plans based on they have to bring new people in and get them associated and acclimatized to being in Toastmasters. I mean, we have to teach them about pathways. So there are reviews that go on, and Toastmasters International says that the division director has responsibility for that. The area director, well, first of all, the key point to what an area director brings to a club is the importance of moments of truth. This is very important because the Distinguished Club program is based on moments of truth, and they need to be aware of that from the beginning. Certainly, not just because they want to be distinguished, but because moments of truth can really be the barometer, the thermometer as it is, of telling you how the club is doing. The benefits are great because the area director brings things to the clubs and takes things back to the district. It's a communication. Now, one of the things that we hadn't used last year very effectively, I think, was we didn't ask for club members to come out and support the demonstration meeting teams. We did have some very successful demo meetings, but we need to think about bringing more and more of those people out, and also make sure they all get to the officer training. It's very important. Another part of this, of course, is that the public relations for Toastmasters really begins in the club. That's where the people who are coming in new get to see it. They are the ones who go and tell everybody else about their experience. Should make that a big deal. Open houses are, of course, the way to make that happen. Area councils, where the clubs get together and share things, kind of like, hey, I have too many people, I need somewhere to go to speak, or I don't have enough people, I need places to fill my chairs. That's the area councils, and they meet on a regular basis. I tried to get them to meet every month, but even though they had all kinds of hours in different places and things, I only had 2 successful meetings. I was quite surprised. I thought we'd get more. I would look for better than that. So at this point, has anybody got a question? If you do, Raise your hand, or yeah, Greg, you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to emphasize these council meetings, if you are area director, not only do you want to supply an agenda to your club officers that are going to be attending you, but it's a chance to focus on what's due next month. If you look at the schedule for running clubs or managing clubs, there's every month there's something coming up. And you might want to find somebody to be your contest chair so you can stay focused on what you are doing. And you might have dues coming up. Well, what are we doing about that? How are we doing? And then the next thing might be officers training. How are we doing? So this is a chance to keep the people focused, what's coming up. And so they are working on it early.
Absolutely. Good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's very important to reiterate to people that things like the dues, they're happening like right now, and we need to address that issue. And I will be in a minute here. So what are the tasks that about these visits and these reports? There's always some confusion about there, but the handbook has great guidance on it. It even tells you certain times that you should be doing things. So we're going to look a little closer at some of these things. Let's talk about area tasks first. It's up to the area director to really sit down and say, how am I going to best spend my time? And put together a timeline of the things that I need to do and when. Now, that person can then share with the clubs and saying, expect to see this. That's okay. I talked about an officer installation. They need to know what the expectations of the area director are too. In the handbook, there are several calendars that tell about what the clubs and what the areas and divisions need to be doing on a regular basis. It points it out month by month by month. And that means starting your first round of club visits and making sure that you contact the club in advance, ask about their success plan. That's a good one. How many clubs have you seen that have a success plan, are willing to show it? If they know in advance that this is an expectation from the area director, they will do it. And then, of course, I made impressions in notes so that I could later come along and fill out my reports. Now, the reports this time around for the first half of the year are due in November. And that doesn't mean the last day of November, because the last day of November, the thing shuts off at noon. And a lot of people get caught and don't realize that has happened. There are some more things. The club dues are coming up. And this is very important. Clubs need to be making sure their people are either collecting the money in hand or going to the website and paying through whatever method they want from the automatic payment. The key here is that that's part of their success plan. I remember being told that Toastmasters is not free. It's too important. And for that, you have to pay. Those area reports next year in April are due. So making sure that you get everything going. I also want people to think about talking about their impressions and how pathway successes are important. I mentioned to clubs, do you have a pathways moment when somebody gets up and says, hey, it's working, or I need help? Everybody realizes on a regular basis that this is still ongoing. Well, those are some of the tasks. There are more in the handbook, but this hits the high points. Let's talk about where you're going to get some information to help you do this job. And that means going to the website, specifically to Leadership Central, because this is where you'll be tracking numbers that Toastmasters gathers for you to help you out. All of the distinguished club programs depend upon one particular thing, and that is the Moments of Truth. Moments of Truth is broken down into several areas. The first impression a person has. How are members given orientation, or are they just brought in and allowed to flounder around and learn about the club? What about fellowship? How often do people call up each other and say, how are you doing? Is it making sense? And of course, on the club side, do they actually plan their program out, or just go from week to week to week and kind of hope it works? That means they have to have an organized meeting. When you talk about membership strength, that means also looking into the people who have left and asking them why they left and what they were looking for when they came. And then, of course, when we talk about Moments of Truth, there's the achievement and recognition. It's very, very important. Moments of truth. Impression. I repeat this because it's so important. Now, you've heard people talk about the District 57 website. Well, let's take a look at what's out there and kind of see what's going on. But first, do we have any questions at this point? No questions. We'll move on. When you sign in to Toastmasters International, log in, then it takes you up to a window and it says, hey, where can we take you today? They ask that question, and all of these different places you can go and click on. If you click on the distinguished performance reports, get ready, because they're going to throw data at you like with a water hose. But a couple of sincere looks and examinations will tell you a lot about the area you've got that you're responsible for, and some of the things that intuitively you might want to be thinking about working on. Let's take a look at it from the district perspective. Now, this is basically district performance. You learn here that there's 112 clubs in the district, and how many there are in terms of payments they're looking for, and what the bases are to be distinguished for the district. It talks about all of the data about what makes a distinguished value. How many people do you have to have for payments to be a President's Distinguished District? That's a good goal. But down on the next part here, this is very important because we're going to talk about the individual clubs. This is area A1. And the individual clubs, it talks about how many payments were late, how many payments were received in October, which is still young yet. So this is all new. And of course, there was nothing in April. And then how many totals there are. So you can see right away quick how you're doing in your totals for what's going on in your particular area. They also talk about how many new members have you got, and did you charter a new club? What's going on? The thing is, this is from the district perspective. It's the overall looking around, but we need to take a closer look. So let's go down to this particular area and say, we're going to get a little closer now to something more important. This again is area A1. It says, have the renewals been completed? Well, no, right, not. That they'll change to a yes when they've got the renewals completed. When you do your area visits and you log them in and issue the report, this N over here for no will change, and it will go to a yes. So right away, quick, anybody can look and see how you're doing with your area reports. Your division director will be looking at this very closely. Also, you look at your membership strength. You can see some of the clubs have 13. Oh, we have 23 in San Leandro and 34 down here in a new club, BioPharma. So you can actually know right away quick when you go to visit the club, they have a membership issue. They don't have enough members. With 10, that's good, but they need to have more. And that you need to help them out. And maybe the other clubs need to help them out too. For instance, with 34 members in a club, and you're only meeting once a week for an hour, not everybody gets to talk. So why don't you send a few of those over to this club over here, Castro Valley, 961, and say, I'd like to give you a speech. The rest of the people would go, oh, somebody's going to come help us. And I can take a breath rather than having to do 4 jobs in the meeting. So you get how this kind of can help you out? Absolutely. Let's move on. We're going to take a look at the club itself. So here we have all the clubs, and it shows what their education successes have been when they've recorded it. This is early, so there's not going to be much. And I want to point out that a couple of things are very important here. There's a list of getting the officers' lists in. That's an important key to it. There's also who went to officer training right here. These are important parts of it, and they show up right here when you're talking about at the club level. But we haven't hit the club level yet. The club level comes along in this area. This is the next one. All of these are available right from that first screen I was at. Well, here we know exactly how many people need to have accomplished, let's say, a level 1 award for that to be approved and getting one. So you can see what the requirements are. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 12 awards in a club of 34. That should be easy to do. And then how many new members did you bring in? How many officers were trained? And you notice officers, you've got 7 officers in your club, so this doesn't mean all of them, although that is good too. And then also, what did you get your officers trained? Did you get the dues in on time? So the key here is these things are for you to use. Not only that, it's for you to ask questions about when you run into things that you don't quite understand. Well, this has been a real fast overview. I agree. I think that the best thing you can do right now is to go get that leadership handbook. It's 222, and download it for free and keep it and look through it. Oh yeah, there's a lot of pages in there. Don't print it out. It will run your ink dry out of your printer. But as a reference to guide you, now is the time to get that. Now is the time to basically say, I can improve my opportunities and I can improve my area and my division. I'll have calendars to tell me what I need to do. I'll have tasks that I need to fulfill, and I'll have a division director, and I'll have other directors in the district who can help me as I go forward. I'm going to say, if you have any questions, my email and my phone number up there, I'll be happy to talk to you about this in any way. I'm open all the time for this, because success is what we all want to have for ourselves, our district, but specifically for our club members. Thank you very much for your attention. Back to you, Jeff.
Thank you,
Ashley. I put the 222 district leader book in the chat. You can download it directly. You don't have to go hunting for it.
Good point.
And you can still print it and put it in a binder and put it on your shelf.
Yep.
I've done that.
And refer
I
to
don't recommend it, but I've done it.
Yeah, I do too.
But once it's on the shelf, you got to take it off the shelf.
Right.
Thank you very much. I'm going to.
So, Jeffrey, are you next?
I am, but I thought before we did that, since that was Ashley's official presentation from the Toastmasters website that we're supposed to present as slides, do we any questions on the official stuff so far? Because now's a good time to take a minute break to make sure we have any other comments. Okay, in that case, I will bring on the next set of slides. That. Okay. One of the traps that I've seen area directors do over the years is think that they're on their own. You're not. And in fact, it's just the opposite. Or you wouldn't be talking to us right now. Look at what we're doing in the district is more of a relay race. The trio and the division directors are not necessarily above you. They're just kind of the people at the front of the relay, handing you information as we find it out. For example, one of the things that we have going on right now is the early renewal for clubs. And we had to decide that in a meeting about a week and a half ago about whether they're going to extend it past the end of July, which of course no way it's supposed to be. So our job is to relay information down the chain to everyone else. You can tell the clubs about that. And although the plan here is that we're supposed to be a team, it doesn't always happen that way. The baton we're passing is information, support, and communications to people in the clubs, because we're not here to do this alone. And we're empowering each of you, and that also includes the officers that are here tonight. Thank you for coming, by the way. Represent us with the folk that you're serving. So I have a question for people, and that is, how do you best communicate? And I am going to pick on someone if we do not have a volunteer from the people who are not the trio. So I'm going to pick on Ray. Are you there? Okay, I guess not. Tatiana, oh, there he goes. Ray.
I didn't catch that. What was that, Jeff?
How do you
Jeff.
communicate with people? How do you best communicate?
How do I best communicate?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the surest way I communicate is I email my area directors. They're responsible to pick it up, but I know at least I've done it and I haven't ran around trying to catch up with them. If they don't read it, that's their responsibility.
Okay, so there is nothing wrong with the fire and forget email, but Pat, are you there?
Yes, I
Hi,
am.
Pat. So when is an appropriate amount of time to realize when someone hasn't answered your email to follow up some other way?
I generally I always try to send my emails. I time them. I try to not send it on Mondays if possible. Everyone's clearing their inboxes on Monday at work and personally. I try maybe Tuesday, and I think I would wait like 3 days. They haven't responded to me by then, kind of gently follow up and like, hi, following up. Hopefully you saw this email, need you to respond. But if it's obviously a bit more time sensitive, there are other ways to contact them. Texting generally is a little bit better to kind of get their attention to respond sooner rather than later. But yeah, I would say 2 to 3 days is a good amount of time.
Okay, that's reasonable. And having a way to track when you last sent someone an email is kind of important. Anna, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Okay, Anna, what are other methods besides email that you might use to keep in touch with people?
So yeah, email and is the one that we use for our club. And if it's something that's kind of timely, we try to use it's texting if we need to, like for example, before contests or things like that. And the other thing that and those are the main things. But the other thing that I'm trying to do myself, and I see other club members of our club doing, is actually having conversations with informally, without a need, actually, like just kind of build a rapport. So that's just to build a rapport. But anything that's transactional, we try to we're using email and text as needed. So.
Okay, sounds good. And the thing here is that what Anna is saying is that coming up with a way to start a conversation and keeping it going when you have transactions or context or conversations you need, an email doesn't always cover that.
Yeah. So
And
yeah, actually, that's one of the questions I have with you, like the question you mentioned is like, how long do you wait for a response? That's something even I'm also wondering is what's the general practice, or it depends on what the context is, right? If it's for a meeting or for a bigger project, it depends. But I was just curious, what is the general practice? So.
there is no general practice that I would recommend personally. And really, it's just a matter of time is how important is it to get a response right away. There's a whole bunch of places you can find a good email etiquette. Like if it's something important, mark it urgent. And there's a, shall we say, balance between being annoying and not following up enough. And whatever that is tends to be whatever works for you and your team, the people you're working with. And one of the things I always try to do when I establish first contact with someone is I ask them, how would you like to best be contacted? Email, phone, text, or Zoom. And then whatever they tell me what that is, I try to stick with that as much as possible. And for me, I can tell you that while email works, I will give people my text number. So if it's important, text me. Okay, one more question before moving on. Who has priority when it comes to visiting at a club? And this is something that I got from Greg last year. Is it the area director, the division director, the trio, or a dignitary from outside the district? Any takers for this question? All right. Well, the answer is that while the area director is your primary contact for the club, anybody can visit a club. The key trick here is that the area director is supposed to be the primary contact. And if you're going to visit your club, please let the area director know. Last year as division director, I got told that I should only visit a club during open houses, and I just said to all the clubs, invite me to any open house you get, and I'll show up. And I did. We're all on the same team together. And the goal here is to make sure that everyone has the information that they need. And everyone doesn't always have the information at any given level. So the general chamber questioning is, if you have a question in your club, start with the area director. If the area director doesn't respond within a few days, go up the chain to your division director. And at the end of this, I'll put my email in the chat. And as one of the trio members, I will make sure your question gets answered one or the other. Linda, of course, is also the program quality director, and Sally is the district director. Between the three of us, we answer our emails. So definitely feel free to ask any questions, because the only stupid questions are the ones you never ask, right? Okay, moving on to the section about being a mentor, trainer, and leader. Now, being a mentor comes in different flavors, and most of you are familiar with the mentoring style, where if you join a club as a new member, you get assigned a mentor. Maybe. Hopefully you get one. But we also have the flavor that are club mentors, where someone who is assigned to help a brand new club as a mentor, or someone is assigned to help a not so brand new club that's under the 13 member limit as a coach. So what does a mentor do? Well, there's a couple of different styles of mentors. And the plan here is to essentially be there for someone to help them grow as a person, or give them a hand up. And I'm going to make a quick check here. And just show of hands, you don't need to turn your cameras on since I see you're all camera shy. Show of hands. How many of you have never mentored someone before? Never mentored anyone? You're just kind of there to absorb information, and you've never mentored someone yet. Everyone here has been a mentor in the past? Oh, okay, we got a few. Good to know. Okay, now we have a few more. So the point here is that mentoring should not be scary. Anybody in your club that has finished at least level 2 can mentor anybody on anything they've been through before. And a lot of what we do in Toastmasters is sometimes brought in from outside Toastmasters. We all have different skills, different strengths, different areas of expertise. Have you considered, for example, mentoring someone on something that you do as your job? One of the things that we do in my club is that we have someone who is an expert on giving technical presentations. We have managers, we have business owners. And so when someone says, I'm also a business owner or entrepreneur, we try to assign them to that person. So an assignment to take back to your clubs is go around your club and find out what people do for a living. Find out what they do for fun. Find out what their passions are and what their hobbies are. And then write that down somewhere. Start with that as being a mentor for that particular object. And another example is that we had someone who was in a quilting group, and she brought a quilted drawer with her, and she found 3 people in the club who wanted to get started. And so she gave a workshop on it. Anything that you know that someone else doesn't know is fair game. You can be their mentor if you choose, so choose. So here's a question for, let's go with Karen. Karen, does mentoring have a style?
Style. It depends on what the mentor and the mentee agree on for what the mentee needs and wants.
Okay. How would you determine what that is?
A conversation. If someone's new in the organization, a new member, they're going to have less experience and less visibility, less of an idea of what they want. So this style would be more directing and guiding.
Okay.
And then as someone matures in their own pathways, they can learn that what they want out of a mentor can change. Maybe it's it's focusing on a particular skill or helping them identify someone who can help with them.
All right, sounds good. And now I'm going back for the big guns. Linda, does mentoring have a style?
In some respects, I think I would agree in the fact that it depends on the mentee and what your relationship is. What are your goals and dreams for having that mentorship? Where do you want to go? Because you can be very directive. You can be in a telling style. You can also be in an asking style where you sit back and you ask questions to be able to get a flavor for where is that mentee going. But you as the mentor also learn. And I think that's the most important piece, is that it's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. And because it's a contract between the two of you, you agree to what the terms are and how you're going to, in essence, help each other as you're moving through the mentor-mentee process. So I would like to say that the style is more an asking style, a style of collaboration, a style of teaching as well, and both sides learn. So that's where I would go.
Thank you. And definitely that's one of my mottos as well. Any day that I don't learn something new is a day I've wasted. All right, I will take one more suggestion from the audience that we haven't covered yet for mentoring styles, and then I'll move on. So any volunteers before I call on one last person? I see Greg. All right, Greg.
Yes. Put yourself as an officer or as an area director. When you come to that club, you have titles. President, excuse me, area director. Let's get the playing field fair. We're not here above one or the other's a lower position. No, we're all students here learning in the leadership role of what we're doing. So it's important to establish that we're on the same team working together. You might remind them that even the Toastmasters reverse triangle of leadership is that the area is at the bottom and then the division supporting the area. I'm sorry, the district's at the bottom supporting the division. The division's next supporting the area. The area is next supporting the club, and the clubs are supporting the member. The member is the most important thing, as Sally mentioned to you. So when we have that reverse triangle and we go in with that attitude, that's how we approach our club officers. We're here to assist you. We're here to help you understand the organization's program of what's next, the flow of what's coming up through the year, what's next on the agenda, how do we grow together, and to motivate, and also to be an advisor, to give suggestions, just like we do in evaluations. And that's what we kind of do in the area club visitation report. One thing that's so important is right off the beginning in developing that leadership relationship at the club level with the area director is to find out their Zoom meeting or time and date, or they meet, when they meet, contact numbers of the officers. And so you have a folder or a file or a reference on each club. So as you start to work with them, you're not always having to call them and ask them what's your phone number or your email or how we want to do this. You might also use that to check their Club Central to make sure that all their information, if people are trying to find a club, that their information's up, whether they meet in person, they meet in a blended meeting or just on Zoom, what time, where they are, and how they can get into the club to visit. So building that rapport is something that you can do as an area director to help them make sure those things are done, but also to help them understand the reverse triangle, that we are here to support you, the club, as an area director, and the club is supporting the members who are the students that are learning.
Yes, excellent. And you just gave away one of my secret tricks, is that when I finished being division director, I made sure that the incoming area directors and division director had that contact information sheet with as much information I could put in there. So last comment on this, and this is a direct quote from Rose Kurland, our region advisor, who actually joined a few clubs in the district last month, or actually now before last month. And I'm in one of those clubs, and she was asked the question, what do we do that you're here? She said, I joined this club. I'm a member of the club. Treat me like a member of the club, like you do any other member. But if you need extra assistance or advice from someone who's been around a bit, let me know. So while you may see the district officers as super luminaries, we're also Toastmasters. Okay, moving on. Being a trainer. Now, the difference between a trainer and a teacher, it's all about the information that's repeated and remembered. A teacher is all about giving information. A lot of our training sessions are about dumping lots of information on you and hoping you'll remember it. A trainer, it's kind of like a physical trainer, and this is from one of my mentees, gets you to not just repeat after what they say, but also to think about what you're doing. And also, a good trainer learns how people learn. A lot of what I do as a mentor and a trainer is I'll find how to connect with somebody. And what I mean by that is that looking for common ground of any person that you're mentoring or training. If you notice, so far I've been asking people questions and trying to get them to relate their experiences in this particular training. This is how I connect with people. I ask questions and then I relate to what they answer with. Ashley, what is the key to improving someone's training ability?
I believe that their training ability is basically based on practice and then getting feedback on how effective it was. There's a lot of information in the train the trainer materials that help people to organize themselves. Particularly, there's one sheet in there that says you're going to only have 58 minutes in an hour to do your presentation. How many topics and how much time are you going to devote to them, considering that you have introductions and going out? So the key here is to get organized, know what you want to say, and make sure you do that.
Excellent. And if you didn't know, Ashley is the Train the Trainer guru. So that was a shameless reverse plug that this man knows what he's doing when it comes to training people how to train stuff. And
So a lot of training.
And Ashley actually has a Train the Trainer session coming up in September. So if you'd like to know more about what it takes to be an outstanding Toastmasters trainer, sign up for the course, because I think you'll learn a whole lot about it. And it's going to be in person and on Zoom.
Yeah, and I want to add to it, when I took it many years ago, it made all the difference in my career and improved my own ability to be a trainer. Thank you for that.
You're
No
welcome.
problem.
And that will be on September 28th. Mark your calendars now.
And we're supposed to have anyone who is giving training take the Train the Trainer course if you can do so. Now, besides Ashley, Greg, and Linda, are there any other previously trained Train the Trainers in the room right now? Anyone who has actually given training for the district or another district before I move on?
And technically that includes the TLIs and the club officer trainings.
And I know that for sure that I think Lisa, if she's still around, was one of our trainers.
Yes.
Ah,
Alan's
great.
taken it. Yay.
Okay, hey, oh, Alan. Okay, Alan, talk to us. So the question is, how do I, as a prospective trainer, know what I can and cannot train? How do I, as a prospective trainer, know what I can and cannot train?
Well, if I don't have any experience in it, I don't think I could train it. If I haven't had any training in the subject, how can I give any training on it? So I think to train the trainer would be a good place to start, to learn how to train people, because it is an art how to do that.
Okay. And what is one art to being a trainer?
I think getting people involved in what you're discussing. As the treasurer, I know the first question I ask is, that when you keep books, when you keep your checkbook, how do you reconcile? And most people say, well, I call the bank. I'm going, okay, well, in accounting, you have to have a reconciliation that's in a hard copy because you have to have something to give the IRS when they come and audit you. You have to have something that in paper form that you can say, yes, I did do this, and show them what it takes to be a good bookkeeper accountant.
Okay. And I would say that the takeaway from this is when you're not sure what you're doing, do the research, find the learning, start making a paper trail, because the more you write down, the more you know, and that you remembered it for your notes for the actual training. And sometimes what I find when I'm training people is that they'll come up with new stuff I hadn't thought of before. And I tend to add it to later trainings because you only know what you know. And to quote one of my favorite movies, the only knowledge is knowing that you know nothing, in the beginning at least. Okay, moving on. So the third component between being a trainer and a mentor is being a leader. And all of you who are area directors and above, and technically even club officers, have a tag of being a leader. But as I'm finding in my quest this year to be a better leader, leadership takes different forms. And before I even got into this whole area director thing, I thought leadership was more like this. You have someone up on top that tells you exactly what you're doing and how to do it and how far. And we need to try to avoid falling into that trap of sending out an email and saying, hey, I expect you to do this, and then wondering why you have crickets. The servant leader, which is where people end up after doing this long enough, is the person that gets in front of everyone that says, we're going this way, and pulling in that direction. But even that has its, shall we say, shortcomings, because you can start going in a direction, and if no one's following you, what do you do? So, Ray, since I saw you pop your screen open before, Ray, what do you do as a leader when no one's following you?
Well, first thing you probably need to do is figure out whether or not you're even on the right path. That you sure, if you're not going the right way, why would they want to follow you? You need to have a focus and a direction that they want to follow you at. So first thing, I think you need to have a focus of where you're going, and you got to get the ones that are following you to buy into it, which is probably explaining them to them where you're going and what they can gain from it, and how they can grow from following you and learning this process as following you as a leader. You got to be a little bit of a salesman on where you're going.
Okay. Kania, I hope that's how I'm pronouncing your name right.
Yeah.
Okay,
got it right.
so my question to you is, what is your direction in terms of your brand new area? Do you have you communicated where you want your clubs to go?
Mm.
And not yet is an acceptable answer.
So as far as where the club's directions, where they wanted to go is not where I want them to go, right? Is where do they want them to go? So the answer has to come back from the club and how all the members feel like where they wanted to go. And also while they figure it out, I can help and provide some informations that I learned from the district, and then let them know what kind of projects that we're working on. And maybe they can get some information from it and then decide maybe there's certain area that they target to go, right? So it's not something like, summing it up, it's not something that I can tell them where to go. But it's always like communications between two parties. agree to where the directions is going to be so we can work together and get there.
Excellent. Here is one of my secret tricks. It's all about how you ask the question. There's a difference between I would like you to do something, can you do something, or will you do something? How you ask that is all the difference in the world. So for someone that I need to do something, I will ask them, will you do this for me? And usually the answer is hopefully yes. If they say no, the response is, who can I talk to that can do it on your behalf? You say, can you do something? It's voluntary. And if it's, would you like to do something? It's basically making it voluntary in the sense of making sure that this is something they would like to do. Okay. One last question before I move on. And I'm going to send this one to Sue. Sue, you there? Aha.
Yes. Hi.
Okay, Sue. So what do you do with a club that says, we don't want to do anything except just get together and have fun? There is no wrong answer for this.
I've heard of clubs like that. I think that the best thing you can do is find out what, if anything, is there action are there goals, even if they don't align with Toastmasters goals, and allow and provide the best support for that as possible, while gently communicating a way to that you believe that it would be better because it's the Toastmasters way.
That is definitely a good answer. And I've found that all clubs are different, and I have a few clubs in my now former division, still technically my division because I live there, but that they want to be there to be there for their friends and community. And I always say to them, well, how do you make your club bigger so more people know that you're the coolest people to hang out with? Everyone has their focus. Whatever it is, we are there to support them. And ideally, we want them to be doing their speeches and getting their GCP points. And sometimes it's just they're doing speeches, but not getting credit. And so when you go in there, effectively, it's find out what they're doing and what they're not doing. Okay. Before we move on to the next bit, I am going to drop the attendance sheet in here. Bring it up here for a second. And I probably shouldn't have asked the question, what worked so far, because that was more toward the end. Second.
While you're doing that, can I
Yes.
tell a little story?
Of course, please do.
When I start my training, I always tell the story to the people I'm training. Is your Toastmaster club is a wagon, and the wagon has a bench all the way around the back of it, and all the members are in the back of the wagon, and your officers are the horses in the front pulling the wagon. So you have 6 horses in the front, and the president is the one who has his hands on the reins. So where you want the club to go is up to the president, and the president's the one doing the driving. So everybody has to be cognizant in order for the wagon to go somewhere.
That makes sense. And go ahead, sorry, keep going.
I always get a lot of response from that, from people that I'm training, what the importance of everybody being in unison.
Okay. And that's definitely a good lesson to have. All right, copy link, and then drop this in the chat. All right, so this is the attendance form survey, and I did actually get a copy of the membership list, but this will be for official registration purposes. And please fill this out, so that way we have email address, we can follow up with you if we need to. In the meantime, let me go back into the slide deck. where you want to be as a leader when you have it running right. This is not quite the Olympic rings, but it's close enough. There are 4 different places you can emphasize the leadership. And one is, of course, is to be the person leading the charge. I know this has changed, but the point of being a leader, when you get to a club that's been doing things the same way and they're kind of stuck, figure out what you can change. And when I say change, it's that whole like, will, can thing again. If you see something where they could be doing something differently, how would you lead that change? And when I do president's training, I have the presidents come up with what I call their vision statement. How do they want to do things differently in the club that year? I have clubs come up with the 2 words to describe what kind of club they are. And those are the things that you can put on your flyer for an open house. But the most important part is that if you do not actually empower people to do stuff on your behalf or for their club or both, you're just telling them what to do and you're doing the work for them. And being a leader is not about doing all the work and just saying, here, this is where everything is. Right, Linda?
Absolutely.
Now, the hard part, and not everyone can do this, is how to inspire people. My personal specialty is, at least my perceived specialty, is being an inspiring speaker. That's not everyone. So your best bet is to come up with, like Alan said, a success story, a pitch, if you will, to why you want to be there to help the club, whatever that is. If they ask you when you get there, so can you address the club with a few words? The worst you can do is say, thanks for having me, glad to be here. Because then you've wasted your first and best chance to impress the club. Some people come up with signature speeches. Some people come up with reasons and how they got here. Whatever it is, be prepared to talk, because if the club is doing their moments of truth the right way, they're going to introduce you as the guest. And because you are the area director, vision director, trio member, guest speaker for the open house, have something to say. Because it's how you start a conversation and how you show them who you are. Now, that shared vision thing, that's tough, because no one is going to have the same vision that you are. And I mentioned, what do you have in common? Well, everyone's here to be a Toastmaster. Everyone is here to speak. And I can tell you about one particular club where they said, we just want to be a social club. We don't care about giving speeches. We're just getting together to have fun. And I mentioned already that one of the solutions was, wouldn't you like to have more friends? But the other thing I said to them was, now, wait a minute, I've been here 3 times already, and every time there's a speech, if not 2. Aren't you getting credit for them? No. Why not? We don't like pathways. Like, aha. So if I came back and I did a project in front of you on what this, your particular speech you gave today matches, would that get you to put it in? Yeah, we probably would. Okay, so now I made a promise to them to go back and give them a crash course on where you can stick all these fun speeches you've been putting and get credit. If you're giving the speeches anyway, why not get credit for it? Okay, moving on. This is the nuts and bolts part. When it comes to doing that first club meeting, do you want to be this person trying to land the plane, or this person trying to make a big splash in a small pond? Linda, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to make just one more comment on leadership before you.
Yes, please do.
One of the, having been in the military, one of the things that I have learned from the generals that I worked with is the fact that you do lead from the front. You don't lead from the back. And so it's important for you to know where you're going, a bit about where you think you're gonna, how you're gonna get there, and why you want to be there. And I think probably the most powerful picture I saw, this was an old TV show with showing the leaders in World War I who then were leaders in World War II. And there's this picture of MacArthur leading his troops, and he's literally standing there going, let's go, let's go, let's go. And right next to him is Patten in this god-awful tank that they'd cobble together so that he could be in the armor corps. And it is so powerful to watch them lead and to watch the people behind them wanting to follow them. And I think that's also key to being a great leader.
Definitely. And being the leader that you want to be in front of everyone else is key. And that's part of this whole lesson here, is figuring out what kind of leader you want to be and having that in place before you get to that club meeting. If you're not wearing the right hat, okay. Not wearing the right outfit, Ashley gets in my case all the time about whether I'm dressed up enough for training or things or something like that. So I'm wearing a tie. Oh, he's back. Oh no. But seriously though, I love Ashley's lesson of you want to be at least the second dressed person in the room. And I keep that in mind. And I've been telling myself, okay, I'm getting used to wearing a tie. But if you're going in feeling uncomfortable, it's going to come across the people. And so the best advice I have about going to a club meeting, after taking Alan's advice of doing the research and finding out what you're getting into, and Greg Scott's advice as well, is go informally. Because if you just say, I'm here to be social, if you're just here to say, I want to get to know you and say hello, that goes an immensely long way, because now your club is not on their guard. You're not thinking, you're going to judge us when you just met us? No. The second best thing you can do is ask, do you need anything, any roles filled tonight? This works especially well with smaller clubs. The danger money, as I like to call it, is when they say, oh, can you give a speech tonight? This happens, especially for the really small clubs. On the other hand, if you have that success speech ready, you're prepared. And also, if you have a speech you give it in your club or another club they haven't seen yet, bring that. Ashley, in his demo meeting, says that we should all have a testimonial that we can do as a speech. And I've been asked in the past, tell everyone for open house what you think is the value of Toastmasters. Well, that's an easy answer or a hard answer, depending. You just talk about the project you've done. Talk about your favorite speech, regardless of which your goal as a visiting non-club member is to show them what it's like on the other side of the fence. And once you have gotten to know the club, once you have gotten to know the members, don't forget to do the trick of write their names down in some sort of pad so you remember you talked to them last time, because they won't always be nice and say, hey, you were here last time, I'm this person. I was at one of the clubs that I was fishing director for, and they said, hey, and I believe it actually was Anna, Jeff's back, and he gets to evaluate your speech again. So this happens. If you make a memorable experience, they'll remember you. This is important, because later on, you're going to be asking them for volunteers for your club contests. Okay, where am I? Okay, going back for a second. Do we have any questions from the audience before I go on to the less important stuff? Going once, going twice? All right.
Will you take comments,
Of course.
Jeffrey?
Comments are good.
One of the saddest clubs I ever went to was a small club. They had a guest there, and I think the thing to ask a guest, what can we provide for you? At this club, I felt that there was nothing that the club had to provide for the guests. And so social getting together isn't enough. You need to, people come there to speak and learn how to speak. You need to provide that type of stuff. Getting together and being social probably is not going to help your club. That's my observation.
Definitely
agree.
that.
Yeah.
And one of my other secret tricks for running a club with a new guest is whenever they ask, so how much does this cost? And I said, nothing but a good idea. And I used to give them a pair of blank dead business cards of mine. I say, write 2 ideas you'd like to see in a future meeting. And at the end of the meeting, if the Toastmaster for the next week got the fishbowl of cards and said, next week's theme is, pulled it out. And I pulled out one year, one moment, hot dogs. Somebody had put hot dogs in the fishbowl. And I said, challenge accepted. And so the next week, I did a whole theme about different hot dog themes and flavors and recipes around the world. And the speaker put his speech about being an entrepreneur, like being a hot dog vendor. And the table topics master had a running theme among everyone who answered the question of, if you had to run a hot dog stand from all the things you learned today in the meeting, which one would you pick? And then somebody else was, if you had to write a commercial for the hot dog vendor, what would you write? And so anything you can do to keep guests coming back, besides saying, you join our club today, works. Make them realize that you as a club are interested in them and they'll be interested in you. And nowadays, I just kind of cut right to the chase and say, what themes would you like for a new meeting? What things would you like to know? And somebody said, I want to work with people who use really complex words because I'm learning English as a second language. And I said, all right, word masters, you heard the challenge. Come up with words you think no one else knows. And it works. Another one says, how do I deal with embarrassment? We worked on that. And everyone got to tell in that meeting an embarrassing story of what happened to them. Of course, there was their choice of what they talked about. Could have been true, could have been false. You never know. Point is that your Toastmasters Club is not about the individual. It's about the club as a whole and how everyone brings something to the club. And as the ambassador to the club, as a district officer, bring any cool ideas you've seen in your other clubs to any other club that will listen. That is the bottom line lesson here. Any other comments?
Sure, I'll make a comment. This has been an amazing training. I heard that you called my name earlier and I've been listening, just couldn't figure out how to get back on camera. Was there anything particular that you had wanted when you called my name?
Oh, I was going to ask you what your biggest surprise from being a trainer for the first time was.
Right. So I shared the training with Hans, and I was really surprised at how wonderful he did in doing the training. So the last time that we met for the first makeup, Hans did the training, and Hans will be doing the training on the 19th and the 29th. And I just didn't really know that that was part of who he is. And Hans Thoma's an amazing trainer. So that was my biggest surprise.
Excellent. Well, that is a perfect segue into the next slide, which is talking about Club Officer Makeup Training. Because we're not doing 2 of these, we're doing 5 of these because you have to do this again in January or February. And I'm just going to talk about this really quickly because I know there are a few people in here who need this, but most of you don't. Actually, technically, all of you do. Because Club Officer Makeup Training is something that the district has to put on emphasis in half in order to give people in our district the opportunity to have their officers trained. Going down the list without using any words, technically there are words, but make sure, number 1, get your training on the calendar as soon as possible. And I believe the email address is calendar@d57tm.org to put your thing up there. The goal here is to make sure that there's enough advance notice for people to see it there. And you as division directors, if there are any in the room today, I know Ray's here for sure, but Ray already did his. And I know Maureen was here earlier, but she had to go. And I thought I saw Carrie earlier. But regardless of which, getting on the calendar is the first step. And when do you put it? When it works for you and your partner and your trainers. Because if you don't have enough trainers, if you don't have enough people to run it, that's a problem. And we try to make sure that we put the trainings on different days of the week, so that way they're not all Monday, Monday, Monday. We don't always succeed, but we do the best we can. And once you have it on there, stick with that date. So make sure that you have something that you can make yourselves, because the division directors are the co-chairs of the Officer Make It training. Slides. Slides are available from the Toastmaster.org website. You just need to look for Club Officer Training and you can dig them up. Of course, there are some people out there who have specialized training, like Pravina Raman's VPE and VPP training that can be found if you ask the right people. And generally, if you ask the other people who've done it in the past, someone will find the slides for you. Finding trainers. The best way to find trainers is to ask whoever was there before you. The division directors are your best go-to. Say, who trained for you last year? Also, Linda is a great resource, and so is Ashley, both as people to ask for trainers, but also they do training themselves. The monitors, how many do you need? The answer is 1 for each breakout room. Every single trainer, that's 7 trainers, the VPP tends to piggyback on top of VP, needs a room monitor to essentially be the timer for the meeting, for the training, and also to field questions, because whenever you're sharing your slides, you can't see the chat. So I can't see the chat very well right now, and I don't know if people are asking questions, which I just check every so often. Most of the time, I can't see it. The room monitor is also there to kind of make sure everyone is in the right spot, and also to post the attendance link afterwards. Now, the attendance link that I just linked earlier, I'll do so again in a couple of minutes, is something that you can make for yourself. If you want mine, I will give you mine, and you can modify it. If you need help with Google Sheets to modify it for yourself, contact me separately. I will do a walkthrough with you, but I won't do it today. And just for kicks and cutes, the keynote speaker, upper right-hand corner, is not required. It's helpful to burn time. It's helpful to inspire your audience. But this kind of goes around as a question. Do we need a keynote speaker? What do you do if we can't have one? The answer is, you could just run a straight up officer training, get in, get out. Thanks for coming, everyone go home. But if you have people there for hour, hour and a half, 2 hours anyway, why not give them something else? Because a lot of people who come to officer training have already done it. They're just there to check the box and say, hey, I took training. Make it worth their time. Last year for Lee's and I division training, we had breakout sessions. We gave people advance notice when we put it on the calendar. Here's a survey. Here are 6 or 5, depending on which we did it, possible breakout sessions. Pick 2. And the panels that got the most votes were the ones we put on that night after the officer training. So if you were just there for the officer training, thanks, cool. Sign this attendance sheet, good night. The people who wanted the extra stuff, and a good half the people stayed, they got either better speech evaluations or chain stories. And the second time around, it was retrieving club success, that Ashley did, or finding your speaking style. Anything you add to training as a bonus is something that you can bring. Remember the mentor part and the training part? What do you want to bring that is unique to your training? And for those of you who are area directors, you can step up and be trainers. You have plenty of time between now and either, well, maybe not end of August, but next year to pick up one of the training roles, because in order to be an area director, you should have been an officer in your club. You can train on the role you just did. There are slides you can get, and as long as you follow the slides, mostly, that you get from their Toastmasters website, and I'll show you a secret trick later on how to, or sorry, not later, but if you're interested, how to save it and edit it. It's pretty simple, because they want you to use their static slides, but we hack the slides and do our own stuff. The thing is that once you give the actual official slides so everyone has a consistent training experience, the rest is up to you. For president's training, I do a second half that is all about your vision statement that I mentioned earlier. All about your how to market your club. The 30, 60, 90-day plan that is not in those president's slides, we did that. So if you ever wanted to make your own training, sign up to do an Officer Make It training. Ray can certainly tell you how hard it was to find trainers. And in the district, we would like more than the standard 12 or 13 of us who keep training over and over to give training, we need new trainers. Ashley is giving the training for a reason. We want people with their different points of view, their different stories, and their different skills to give training. And you get credit for taking training if you give training. That's sort of a side bonus there. All right, any questions before I move on? Ray, got a comment or question? You're muted. Ray, you're muted. Ray, unmute. Oh, did I mute myself? No, I did not.
No.
Hey, Ray, whatever you said, you were muted the entire time. Try again. Nope, you're still muted. Can't hear you.
You know, I did the
There we
video.
go.
instead of you. Okay, is there any way to know who the available trainers are? Or is it just asking around to figure out, is there a list of them?
There is no official list of trainers. It's basically, oh, wait, Ashley is about to contradict me, maybe. Yes?
It's not going to be a contradiction at all, but we do know how many people are going to come to the train the trainer, and so we can publish that list. And also, I have some experience with some of the people from the past who've been very effective trainers, and we can, if you want, we can make up a list of this. The train the trainer is not going to be till September, but we can help out if you need somebody right away.
Yeah, and
Just let me know.
Essentially, the best thing to do is ask the division directors from last year, and hopefully you know who they are. And all you need to say is, who did your training last year? Start with those people.
And some
yes.
of us aren't doing it anymore.
Also that, but one really good thing to do is have someone who is someone that the current trainers can train, be in the room with them when they train. Like I know I had Narendra Patel with Linda last year to help out with the treasurer training. So now we have someone who's trained. The point is that the more trainers we have, the easier it gets. Okay, and last bit, before I forget, a bit of a courtesy, when you're running your Officer Bacon training, send the trio an invite. We will show up if we can, and just give us a couple of minutes to say hi to the troops like we had Sally do originally. And I should really stop saying hello to the troops, because not all of you are in the military. Probably most of you aren't, but because I know Linda was, and I think Ashley was at one point, and I'm definitely not.
Oh yeah.
It's a habit that I picked up, and that's one little side effect of being a district officer, is you'll pick up things from your clubs. But that's a good thing. When you see a great idea, share it. And we used to call it in the district, not stealing, but leveraging an idea. And it's a great thing to happen when you see someone using your ideas in their club. Ellen, got a comment?
No, I go to the training because I like to share the information I have with the treasurers because it helps them. I do have a set of books, actual books that treasurers can use, and gives them balances and it's all formatted forms, so that if anybody wants to use it, they're more than welcome to.
Okay, good to know. So if anyone needs treasurer training, Alan is your man. And Alan, can you put your email in the chat? Greg, I see you're lighting up for a second. Do you have a comment?
I just returned from my other meeting. I'm just
Oh, okay. Welcome back. All right, so moving on. Actually, any last questions about Officer Maker training before I move on? Get chat handy.
Nope, there's nothing in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Jeffrey,
Yes.
Kenya,
Yes.
you mentioned about slides available for the trainings.
I will make these slides available. Oh, okay. Oh, the Toastmasters slides for the officer training, or these slides?
Yeah, officers training.
Okay. I will. Okay, so if you filled out the attendance form, I will make sure to follow up with you specifically and get you the slide deck.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any particular one you want, or just all of them?
Just all of them.
Okay, sounds good. And really what we should do maybe is actually make a repository somewhere that people can get to. So just think off the top of my head for a second, because I got this a lot last year. Where are the slides? And they're hard to find. And the ones that you get are read only. So if we have a central spot for them, then we can just say, go here. And we actually put the link on the club, on the District 57 website. Ooh.
That would be great. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Right, moving on. Okay, so hopefully everyone knows what the incentive tracker is, also previously known as VIMS. And if you don't, you're going to be getting a bunch of questions from your club members saying, how do I answer things in the incentive tracker? Where is it? And the best way to get to it is from the District 57 website, so it's d57tm.org, and then go down to district tools, incentives, I believe. Let me double check on that. Type, really. District tools, incentives reporting process, and we'll be on that page. But just to save you the clicks, I have it up and running, so give me a second. Share. There we go. Okay, so I have signed in to the incentive tracker. And why this is important is that Toastmasters sends back all that, not all, a good chunk of the money that we've been putting in for dues back to the district as ways to give the money back to you for your club. And I have opened up the club page for my own club, and we haven't put anything in yet. But the idea here is that when you do things that are worth recognition, you would simply make a recognition thing, pick something off the list, fill out the items, and submit it. And we get the trio, that is, get these actual business information from this tracker, and so we'll be approving it for you. So also, if you have a member that needs recognition for something, you will put it in here. And every time you click one of these things, do new request, it'll tell you, click the info, what you need to enter. And it's kind of hopefully self-explanatory. Bette Bollenhofer, if you know her or don't know her, she is the person who is championing the cause of the incentive tracker to the district. And so we have the ability to get changes made to this just after the convention, because they're showing up there right now and rolling out to the rest of the world, but we were the first people to run it. So this is how we get credit for doing things in the district and get district bucks paid for, incentive dollars paid back to your club that you can spend on certain things, mostly the club website, but also things that you buy on behalf and for your club, such as equipment. So if you need more equipment for your hybrid meetings, if you need to do a banner or a lectern, various things, we will pay you back for the things you spend, as long as you've earned that money in the incentive tracker first. And in September, Linda will be giving a primer on Concur and how you actually do your expenses, but we won't be doing that today. So we're running a little low on time. Okay, any questions on this while I have it up? Going once, going twice? Okay. The second to last thing I'd like to show you is, let's see if I get the window for this. Moment. Where'd that go? Wait, this one. Excellent. Okay. This is a question I get a lot, and is, how do I find out where the club officer training is, or rather if someone's been trained? And I have in my thing, and the area directors will have this too. Yours will be area central, the division director will say district central. Once you click that, you wind up on this screen. And I have more controls than you do, but for area director club visit reports, start here. For club officer training, and this is for those of you who are division directors, this button, oops, I probably shouldn't have hit that like that, but that's okay. Opens up, come on, great, whoops. Okay, fine. Oh, it logged me out. All right, hang on a second. I said watch this. Okay, here we go. Excellent. So this shows the clubs that have officers training for all the positions that are official from Toastmasters. If I drop this down to just Division A, I would see all of my clubs in for Division A. And right now this isn't filled yet because we're working on it, but we are empowering the division directors who have access to this. If you have a copy of that attendance sheet, to fill in the boxes if you know the clubs in question. Correct, Linda?
No,
No? Okay, we're not doing that yet?
I don't think so.
Okay, I apologize. I thought we talked about letting them do that.
I'm not comfortable with that.
Okay, never mind. Forget I said anything.
They do need to send the attendance sheet to me though,
Okay,
after training.
all right. Anyway, let's forget about this bit. I thought we were doing that, but point is that if someone says, hey, do I have credit yet? You can always look at your clubs in there and say, if there's a checkbox in there, then you know they got trained. If it's not filled in yet, it's not filled in yet. Nothing's filled in yet, so we're working on it.
We've got the report for the first TLI. I've just sent the first makeup training to George to play with, and we should have that soon. And then we've got 2 more to do.
Okay.
So,
all right. Well, moving on. Area Director Club Visit Reports. This is the button that the area directors need to fill out. The division directors have access to this button too, as well. And what this opens is this screen. And once you just pick a club from here, and this shows all the clubs because I have everything. And I can look at everything. And you click the create button, it'll open up a screen that will get you to the start of your club visit report. Remember, it should not be your first and only visit to your club to do the club visit report, because you want to be social and get to know the club as people. Because if you go once and you get them on a bad day, you're giving them a bad report that they don't deserve. And good practice is to let them know, by the way, I'm coming back in 2 weeks to do your actual club visit report. But even if they have a bad day, then you have the previous visits, but that weren't official to fall back on as, hey, I was here earlier, I saw this, okay. And the other thing I want to show you, last thing for this, is all the way at the bottom of the District Central screen or Area Central screen are reports. On this, and if you click Club Officer Report, I won't do it because it'll take a while. It gives you the list of all the club officers in an Excel spreadsheet. Membership report is everyone in your area or division or district, which I definitely want to do this. And district council members, I'm not sure what that does. I've never seen this before, because not when I was an area director or division director anyway. But this is how you get your list and the email addresses and the contact information for your current officer list and your current members. If you have to send mail to a bunch of people, this is where you find it and this is where you get it. So this is only available to the area directors once they have gotten their paperwork through to the district and they're registered. The division directors should all have this by now, hopefully. But that's how you get a hold of people via email. And just remember, email is not always enough, as we had laughed on earlier. Okay, and that is my last official slide. So any questions before I continue and start wrapping things up? Greg.
Yes, Linda, just curious. I did my club officers training for president in Founders District. Are you getting any other feedback from any districts about training?
I've gotten,
outside of the
I've gotten some, and I've got a whole bunch that I need to send out to the other districts. I'm behind, but I just got the report from, George.
Okay.
But we
Alright.
have till September 30th,
That's good.
right, Greg? It won't take that long.
Jeff, can I mention 2 quick things before we go on?
Of course.
So in the newsletter, which came out, hopefully you all got the newsletter. There is a newsletter incentive, club incentive. So when Jeff was looking at the incentive tracker, if you can look on there or look in the newsletter, you can find that there will be an incentive for every club to do a club newsletter. And it's a great way for division directors and area directors to follow up with their clubs and find out what's new in the club and keep them really motivated. So once you've done those, if you can send them to news@d57.org, that's Lee Vaughn, he'll take the best of the best articles and include those in the district newsletter. So it's really a great thing to do that. The other thing that I just want to mention is we do not have a list of VPPs because this is the only district that has that position, as far as I know. And if you can help us as division directors and area directors to have a complete list of your VPPs, then we will give that list to Derek Ho, who does MailChimp, and people like Karen will not be left out of important information when we're sending 2 officers for any kind of event. So it's really, really important. I can't ask you enough. And I will be making this request again on Saturday. Please, if you know any VPPs, let us know so we can include them as officers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And
Yes, Greg.
Greg,
Yeah.
what's up?
Yeah, that's interesting. Just remember that that is not a recognized officer's position by Toastmasters International, even though the district is working that. And I think it's a great thing to have a guru of pathways in every club to help people out.
Right. So we recognize them. And
Let's
when
make sure that our members don't get this confused as an official officer's position.
Right, no, I appreciate that, but we would send them an invitation to DEC, which
Yeah.
they're not currently getting because they're not on the officers list.
Yes.
So it's super important that we know who they are.
And the only thing you might try to do is that your club secretary or club president respond with put an email out, please report if you have somebody who's working on mentoring the pathways or the guru, let you
Yeah.
know.
Right, Derek sent that request to all the club presidents and got very little response. So now we're going to the area directors and the division directors in order to get that information. Thank you, Greg.
Okay.
No problem.
So we have effectively 20 minutes left, and I want to briefly talk about what's coming up in September. And Greg Scott is our star presenter for September. Greg, do you have a general quick 5-minute idea of what's in store for the people in September? I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. I apologize.
Well, as you know, I'm here to support Ashley. He's your group training guru, and I'm here to work with him. So I'll be working with him on part 2 or whatever direction you guys provide us to do that. Basically, I've been a Toastmaster over 37 years, so I've served in the area division positions many times, as well as clubs. And what I want to focus on is real life down to text. How do you deal with people, interpersonal relationships, building a relation with the club? You mentioned that one question, what do you do if there's just a social club that meets? I can tell you that for the last 20 some odd years, off and on, and serving the district in this position, one club in the old G10 or area C10 they don't budge. They're going to be the same, and that's the way it's going to be. I've stood on my head. I've tried it. Other leaders have done it. And so all we can do is just to try to keep being tenacious and motivate them to get more members in, and maybe new leadership that may redirect them for more than just a social club, but to start taking advantage of the educational and the leadership advantages. But I want to talk more about what can we do to build a team, examples of how teams were built, experiences and things, the lessons learned that that you can go in and build an interpersonal relationship as an area director, working with their clubs, gain their confidence, gain their trust, and let them know that you are there to support them. And that takes a source of knowledge. As Ashley so brilliantly showed in the beginning of this program, the district leadership handbook, I'll tell you a quick story on that. When I was an area director back in 1989, I used to call the district governor up all the time as an area governor at that time, director, and ask questions. And finally, she said, Greg, here's the manual, go read it. And said, because Toastmasters don't like to read. They don't read. And I stopped right there. I stopped right there, took that manual, I read it from one cover to the other. And you know, she was right. It answered 99% of the questions I had. It allowed me to get organized, how I was going to approach the job and get it done, and with the knowledge. The other thing, by understanding, by reading these things, is now you become a source of knowledge. I carried that, and it used to be in paper form, that district leadership manual, all the way from when I was area director, all the way through district governor in my briefcase. And it was tabbed heavily with the Post-it notes. And I could turn to any page during our meetings, council meetings, wherever I was at, and I had the answer at my fingertips. Now we have computers and laptops. You guys are way ahead of me on all that stuff and the modern stuff. But I don't care if you're a district director, a division director, an area director. If you read that leadership handbook, know where to find the answers in there, you're going to be miles ahead. I also want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we are getting all sorts of new type of members. And we're focused on signing members up, inviting them in, making the sale, if you want to call it that. But basically getting them to pay and become members because it's part of building the district. But I find what we are getting more and more in some areas, not every day, difficult members, people that are difficult, people that are not going to follow the policy. And so we have had a few cases last year that went all the way to the international level, where we had the disciplinary committee have to deal with. I want to help the clubs understand how we can take care of it at the beginning by knowing and referring them to protocol 7.0 and 3.0, as well as our district trio, looking at those resources, because we've just got done redoing the disciplinary procedures at the district level, which I believe will help the district officers not get so tied up with a problem person or breach in protocol, where they have a list to follow, a way to delegate, and a way to take that off there, so they say mission focused, but yet take care of the problem. There was a lot of work put on that. I'm not saying that we have that many people, but these are things that happen. There are going to be disagreements. A lot of the cases I handled last year were trios that couldn't work together. I just pulled my hair out trying to work with them. But anyway, so I think a lot of personal things. And so when we talk about these things, and I can tell you one other story that I had when I was a division director. I think I've been 4 or 5 times in this district. I had a club president call me. He says, you know, the area governor came and the area director came and visited, and he fired both me and the vice president of education. We were fired. And I said, okay, I have some more training to do, obviously. And so our authority is to be there to support and so forth. We are in the area and division directors, as I said, in the reverse triangle, trying to support the clubs and be focused on the mission of the district. Build new clubs and support all clubs in achieving excellence. That's what we're here for. And we don't have the authority to fire or hire. We may install them as officers, but we don't have that. So when we have that understanding and framework that every single one of us, we're not volunteering to be an area director or club officer. We are students at every level learning through our experience and working with others to help them grow. And so that's some of the things I want to focus on, but especially I need to work with Ashley to see what's next on the agenda and where we want to go, as well as our trio and how I can support them. So enough out of that. I've got the red light on and I'm going to pull over and get my traffic ticket.
Thank you, Greg. And yeah, definitely one of the things on our list for September is also handling conflicts. So you play right into that. And we're also going to be talking about running club, or not club contests, running speech contests, because as some of you may have heard, we have been told that the International Speech Contest must be in person. And that is, my opinion, unfortunate. So we're still working on what we're doing exactly for the district, because our district wants to support people who are hybrid, because we've been doing this for the past several years. And I have a protest lodged out to Toastmasters where they haven't responded to me yet, but we'll figure it out by next month. We'd better. The other thing that just as a last bit, important dates, 30, 60, 90 calendar stuff. There is the town hall, which is coming. We go over the business meeting things for the budget for our official business meeting. And there are two different business meetings. One is the international one that's at the convention next week. Your club officers, presidents, and VP should have given the proxy to Sally at this point, because she needs that to vote on behalf of the district. The other business meeting is for District 57. It's where we officially swear in or approve of the people who are not the division directors in trio. So that would be the area directors. But also we vote on the budget for the year. And we need presidents and secretary or VP, was it, Linda?
I believe it's,
District level is president and vice president of education.
Okay.
International level is president and secretary.
Got it.
yeah.
Okay. So VPE, president, each of you has a vote. We need enough votes for quorum. And that's why you need to be there. Yes.
And the business meeting is on the 19th of September.
Okay.
So put it on your calendar, and the town
Thursday,
hall
19th.
is on the 11th. So those are 2 dates to put in your calendar. And I need to remind you all, and you can tell your friends and other area and division directors, you must have 4 hours of training as an area director and a division director. And many of you were in the 2-hour one that we did a month or so ago. Many were not here tonight. And so if you know of folks who were not here and you can get in touch with them, let them know that they must be at the training institute in order to, in essence, be qualified.
Yes, that's important to follow. I'm a local area director. I spent 2 hours with him at lunch the other day training him, but that is not district approved
No.
training. He must be here in person, so I'll follow up that. Also, I'm looking at real quick, August 16th, 7 a.m. Is there a district business meeting or something happening?
Not that I'm
August?
aware of.
No. On what date did you say, Greg?
The 16th, I'm sorry, hold on a second. Wrong date. Okay, September 19th, right?
September 19th is the business meeting.
Yeah, Thursday night. Okay, very good.
Correct.
Okay,
And the town hall is on the 11th.
right, and we need to have a third of the clubs there to have the business have a quorum.
Yes, sir. And then Ashley's Train the Trainer is on the 28th. And our last not our last, because we intend to do more of these, but the last official one is September 10th. So we've got 10, 11, 19, and 28 in September.
Okay, so the 10th is that day I'll be there.
Yes,
Cool.
sir.
All right.
Mhm.
And you probably want to put this in the chat or something for people for that. I'm going to post my email as well in case you need it. And one more shot at the attendance link for today. And for those of you who are still left here, would you be so kind to turn on your cameras for a moment so we can take a screenshot, get back with the backup. Hello, wonderful people. So glad to see you. And give me 1 second. Cecilia, I love your background. It is awesome. Okay, and then waiting on Sue and Carrie. Otherwise,
Huh?
okay, there you go. Taking 1 second. And everyone smile and excellent. Thank you. Okay, and one final thing. I used to have a coworker do that a lot. This is the final schedule, but this is kind of important because this Saturday at 9 a.m. is Decem. There is a Zoom link for the Decem. Please copy that. You can just save the chat for this if you like. It was not sent out apparently to a lot of people, but this Saturday's Decem is open to all club officers, presidents especially. And what we are covering there is stuff we purposely did not cover here tonight because we didn't want to give you the same thing over and over and over if we can avoid it. And specifically, stuff that we are covering is a case example of what is a good president's club from the area director's point of view and how to read the DCP program pages differently. And we're also going over the club success plan, the mini club success plan that is, which is due, I want to say October 30th, but technically earlier, that all clubs should try to fill out. And also the moments of truth, which Ashley talked about briefly. So Narendra Patel is the moments of truth person, and Pravina Rahman and Venkat are the mini club success presenters, plus the announcements and things from the trio that we need you to know about. So spread the word. Decem is open to anyone who has the time and wants to join. We'd love to see you there. The link is in the chat. No tickets required. And this is all virtual this time, so please don't show up in Lafayette if you came last time to Lafayette. All right?
Jeffrey, is that link in the website, in the district website as well or anything?
Yes, it is the same link every month for Decem. It's on the calendar if you lose this. All right, so last comments. We have 5 minutes. Any other questions, comments, anything you want to see in September besides what we've already talked about? If you want to see another part again, we can do that too. Please let us know in the attendance sheet. There's a space for that. You have my email. You have Ashley's email. Linda, you want to put yours in the chat as well? And also Greg, you haven't already?
Jeff, quick
Yes.
question. The last Decem is, I remember you recorded it. Is there any way that we can watch that video again?
The last Decem was recorded. I do not have the recording. It's somewhere on the cloud.
Probably on YouTube.
Hopefully on YouTube. We apologize in advance for the horrible sound quality at points. That was me running around with a microphone in my pocket that was live.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, and most of what we did tonight is recorded as well. I missed the first 5 minutes in the introduction, unfortunately, because like, oh, that was me, wasn't it?
Jeffrey?
Yes.
Yeah. I also have available the full video of the training we did on June whatever 2023 for division area directors that we covered, especially a really detailed thing on the what do you call it? The computer. What's the word I'm looking for? Desktop.
Desktop.
Desktop. That tape. Anyway, where you look at all the statistics of the clubs and stuff.
Okay.
There's 4 different speakers. So if anybody would like that, you have my email there. Now give me a shout and I'll forward it to you.
Okay, 100% joking. I don't want to see it because that was me when I was still learning to be a division director and going ask all my silly questions. But just kidding. You can watch it if you want to. I promise it won't be embarrassing.
Oh, you weren't
Ray,
embarrassed.
comment, question.
Uh,
Jeffrey,
Yes.
I got a question, either you or Linda. The area, there was a training, I think it was the 13th of July, and for the area directors and division directors. Now,
correct, yes.
can the directors watch that video and have any counting as far as having training or not?
I don't believe so, no. They have to do it live.
Okay. Is that video
Available?
I don't think the video was, I never could see that it was published, but they need to do it live anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, the ones that we're doing are in greater detail than, and I want to say more important. I think we did a very fast run through of the district statistics, which I think Ashley did a much better job, and Jeff did a much better job today of bringing it down to what's important. And the same thing with the area visit. I think we just hit it much too broadly. We're going to bring it down more detailed in the September. So I would say, tonight and September's were probably going to be more valuable than what we did in July.
And the other thing too is that we're switching up instructors every time. So everyone has their different way of presenting things. And we're trying very hard not to overlap too much. So if you went to this one and the previous one, hopefully we'll give you some new stuff in September as well. Because since we have to split it up, we want to make sure that if you do show up, when you show up, if you need to show up, it's worth it to you every time. And pretty much, I was speaking more from my personal experience from last year since I just did this, and it's been a lot of fun. Ray, what's up?
I was going to ask now, the area directors are supposed to have 4 hours of training. Is there any really punishment for it or anything, or it's just what's needed to be
We
done?
don't get credit as a district without it.
Ashley?
That's the role.
Basically, if you're going for your distinguished Toastmaster, one part of that is completing a full term as a district officer for the full term, or secretary treasurer PR. So you have to have that completed.
I'd like to add something to that.
Yeah.
That is that if the people don't come to the training and don't really get into it, especially the area directors, they are ending up not really being able to serve their clubs, and nor are they able to serve in the division council where they are going to exchange information. It's really an important part of being a manager and learning management. And so you have to make the effort. And unfortunately, there will be some that didn't. In fact, the very first time I became a division or an area governor so long ago, I went to my club the first time, and they came around and looked at me and said, "Ooh, you an area governor? We ain't never seen one of them before." Don't let that happen to you.
And the other reason for this training is that you don't want to be what I did when I was an area director. And in January, I said, "Oh, hey, the speech contest are coming up. Who's running the?" "Oh, it's me, isn't it?" And then I had to figure out how to run an area contest by myself in the middle of a pandemic with almost no help. Fortunately, I had a good mentor at the time. She said, "Talk to these people." So we want to make sure you have everything that I didn't have in the beginning for area directors. And we want to make sure that you know the things that we've had as hard-learned lessons, not doing it the right way as division directors. And for those of you who are officers tonight, again, thank you for coming. Thank you for being interested. Thank you for being voluntold to come, possibly some of you. But we're hoping that we made it sound interesting and fun enough that next year you'll volunteer to help out. And don't forget, any of you can be trainers. Just train the trainers. That being said, it is now 8:02. Linda, Ashley, Greg, last comments, say goodbye.
No comments. Goodbye. We'll see you in September. And tell all your friends and neighbors to join us as well. We're going to have some great topics and things that you need to know.
Area directors, find your speech contest chair and get them
Early.
involved right now.
Yeah. Basically, next thing, and area director visit reports, November 30th is the deadline. Get them done early you can, because November comes up fast.
Get them in October.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
there's one
can.
more thing I wanted to mention. We just sent out a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet to most of you. Certainly all division directors got one. Ashley, you should have gotten it as well. It's asking for feedback on the website. And if you could take a look at the website and see if there's any corrections needed, and then fill in the feedback on that so that we can update the website, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
You
Okay.
sent it to our email, Lisa?
I did.
Okay, I don't remember.
You were included, Linda.
Oh, I'm sure I was. It's buried somewhere in there.
Yep.
Okay,
If you need it again, I'll send it again.
I'll let you know.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night, everyone. See you Saturday.
Yeah.
And yeah, Linda, I'll stick around for a few minutes more.
What?
I said I'll stick around for a few minutes more. I'm not going to disappear because I think I'm the host.
You
Stop
are.
recording.